Welcome to the 2% Club, where we talk all things work, wealth, and wellness with the founders, funders, and forward thinkers rewriting old playbooks with intention. I'm your host, Rachel Hirsch, venture investor, wellness operator, and founder of Wellness Growth Ventures. Each week, we dive into bold conversations about scaling companies, building wealth, investing wisely, and staying mostly sane while doing it. Welcome back to the 2% podcast, where we talk all things work, wealth, and wellness. I am your host, Rachel Hirsch, and today we're starting something a little new. Each week, we're going to drop these 10, 15-minute episodes that are just hot takes. The whole point is hot takes on what's going on. It can be super newsworthy or just more broad, but today is super newsworthy. We're talking the Rhode acquisition by e.l.f. for $1 billion. I'm going to give a little bit of context, but I'm sure everyone's seen it. e.l.f., just sort of generic cosmetics, like Walgreens run-of-the-mill cosmetics company, bought Hailey Bieber's Rhode for $1 billion. Here's where it gets interesting. From what I think, e.l.f. is a public company that did less than $1 billion in revenue last year. So I think it was $880 million. So I sort of just am confused that it's not an acquisition, it's a full-blown merger. To some degree, it's just going to be Rhode that is the company moving forward, and e.l.f. is slowly disappearing. And I think we saw pieces of that in their annual or in their call with investors. So normally they give forward-looking guidance, like what you can expect the next year's revenue or profit or whatever it would be. And they didn't this time. And this wasn't normal. It's normally they do this, and this was abnormal that they didn't do this. So that's a bit of a, let's call it a pink flag. But I also think that this is so indicative that no one learned anything from Kylie Cosmetics. When Coty bought, I think it was 51%, it was for $600 million. So the total valuation was $1.2 billion. But let's talk a few things here. First of all, they bought 51%. So they didn't buy the entirety, which e.l.f. is buying the entirety of Rhode. Again, sort of indicative of they know their brand is failing, ? But with Coty and Kylie, they ended up marking down Kylie significantly and taking losses on it. I think when a company is just so big, the execution that you need to truly integrate it and get those economies of scale are harder. And not just that, I think with Kylie Cosmetics, they were already in Ulta. They already had mass distribution. I think what's super interesting with the Rhode is that it's all D2C right now. They're going into Sephora. But my question is, because it has such appeal and people are obsessed with the people in LA, we're waiting in line overnight for their pop-up opening. Have they already reached a tipping point of consumer? I've never bought Rhode, but I'm not really their target demo. I guess maybe if I was in Sephora, I would buy it, but I'm not going to go onto their website. So maybe I'm the potentially added demo. But my assumption is there's not massive growth just by entering retail for them. And that's part of why I think there's this mismatch in terms of they think, and I hope I'm wrong. I do hope I'm wrong. They think that this is going to be a massive growth play for them. But what if Rhode has really it's not going, did I think 212 million last year top line. What if it only gets to 500 million? What if that is just the end of it, which is still a great company, but is it worth the $1 billion cost? The other sort of insider information tidbit that I'll throw out there is about a year ago, Rhode started doing what I'd call a road show, where they were taking investor meetings with the larger growth equity funds, and they were talking at this $1 billion valuation. And no deal got done. And I don't know what happened behind the scenes, if they turned the investors down or the investors turned them down. But I think that's a super interesting anecdote, the fact that multiple really successful funds didn't end up closing this deal at the $1 billion valuation. To me, that's indicative of there wasn't something right. And whether that is, again, because they turned the investors down, but there's still a chance that the investors didn't fight for the deal, thinking that it was worth $1 billion. And again, I think that this is all indicative that maybe they overpaid. Again, I hope that they didn't. I hope it's super successful. And the real takeaway here is props to Hailey Bieber. She thrived. She is getting so much money from this, and she deserves it. She built a brand off of herself as a brand, and it wasn't just some other tequila brand with a celebrity. It was like her identity, and people aspired to be like her. And so they wanted to buy products that could help them feel like her. So 100% props to her. She deserves this. I think it will just be an interesting, call it 2 years, to see what happens with this integration. Any rate, let me know what your take is. Pop them in the comments, and we will see you next week.